I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Time for one of my motivational blogs, the ones that I enjoy doing the most. It's my blog, so I'm going to keep doing some of them. So I wanted to just reaffirm what I talk a lot about in my book about the need to keep your horizons long term, especially when it comes to investing or anything in life, as I'm going to tell you about here in a minute. You know, speculating or trading in and out of positions, whether that's real estate or stocks, is really a mug's game. You're playing small ball there. Oftentimes I'll get people that will call me and say, oh, and if I buy this pre-sale or this unit or this stock this year, what can I flip it or sell it for next year and how much can I earn? Well, you know, I tell them I don't know. There's a good chance you could be down 10% next year if you bought a pre-sale today and wanted to sign it next year. Who knows? All bets are off in the short term. What I can tell you, though, is if you were to buy anything as far as Vancouver real estate today and keep it for 20 years, pay the mortgage off, it's going to be worth far more than what you pay for it. But in the short term, in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, who knows? And in my opinion, who cares? If you're an investor or you're a speculator. I'm an investor. I like to buy things that guarantee success, and if you hold it long enough, whether that's a stock or a piece of property, you can't help but make money on it. So I want to share a couple of stories with you. I was watching the Olympics earlier this winter here, and I couldn't help but be drawn in with the Canadian figure skating duo, Tessa Virtue and Scott Moir. And if you watched it, I mean, talk about an incredible performance by these two. This was their third gold medal. I think they've won 5 or 6 Olympic medals total, numerous world championships. Pretty amazing story. And when they won their third gold medal here, you know, I mean, of course you're caught up in the moment. You just watch them do a flawless routine and the perfection that they exhibited in their routine. It was just amazing. They make it look easy. But whenever I see athletes of that level achieve that kind of success, I don't know, maybe some of you think the same way I do. I always look at it I always think to myself, you know, the journey to get to this point, I always think it must have been 10, 15 years of training, getting up at 4 a.m., the diet, the injuries, the setback, the self-doubt that they kept persevering, the dedication, the sacrifices they had to make to get to that level. Most people just see the results of getting the gold medal. With me, I always look at what the process must have been. And I don't know, I hope I'm not the only one that thinks that. Maybe because I was an amateur athlete, so I know the process that it takes and the time it takes. But what I'm here to tell you is, and I talk about it in my book, what I call the price. And life is like that in just about every avenue, whether you wanted to become a professional guitar player or a pianist or a successful investor or an athlete. It's not going to come overnight. Most people just see the results of the championships and being on stage and being a master at the guitar. What they don't see is the 15 or 20 years of work that it led up to get to that point. And that's why I call my book Along for the Ride. There's no shortcut. It's a slow, methodical process. But it can be done. But oftentimes I'll hear young people call me and they want to know what they can flip things for and make a quick dollar on. And I tell them, you know, I don't know because I'm not a speculator. You know, I buy assets, hold them, and my results are going to be guaranteed. You buy a property today and looking to flip it next year, it might work for you. You might make some money on it, but there's also a good chance it might be down 10 or 15%. But you know, there's ways to guarantee your results, and that's just by holding it. Now, there's some other ways as well that I think will make it a lot easier for people. Let's talk about investing in real estate in the stock market. What I've found that makes the staying the course much easier is to stop focusing on what the property or what the stock is worth day to day. With my stock portfolio, I always look at what the stock price is, but I'm only looking at it in terms of, is it on sale and should I be buying more at this price? What I really focus on, and I talk about in my book, is what is the income that portfolio is providing for me. Every month I'm getting dividend payments from my portfolio. That cash is building up, and then I'm using it to buy more stock. So rather than looking at what the value of your portfolio is, look at what the portfolio is producing as far as increased income or increased dividend income. That will help you stay the course. And I look at it that way with my investment properties as well. I don't, to be honest, even though I'm a realtor, and before I became a licensed realtor, I was already investing in real estate, I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what my investment properties were worth. Sure, I looked on the MLS from time to time, but I was hardly keeping a very close eye on it. I didn't care. I was enjoying my life. I was working. I was busy. What I did focus on, though, is keeping tenants in there, good tenants that were paying me a rent check every month. So I looked at it on what my portfolio of real estate was producing for me as far as income. And that's all that should matter to you as well. I think when you look at it, get away from what it's worth day to day, because that'll take care of itself over the long term, guaranteed. Focus on what it's going to produce for you as far as income or passive income. And that's what my book is all about. And I think that will help you stay the course a lot more. But there's no shortcut here, folks. When someone says, I want to buy and then sell a property 2 or 3 years later, you can do that if you want. But remember, I call it in my book, I call it playing small ball. You're only playing 1 or 2 innings of a 9-inning baseball game. If you want to make the big bucks, the real dollars, you buy that property, put a tenant in it, keep it for 20 or 25 years, let the tenant pay off the entire mortgage, and then look at what it's worth. That's playing a full game of baseball. Same thing with stocks. I seldom ever sell any of my holdings. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at prices and gauging whether I should be adding more to my position. I'll look at selling some stocks when I get into my 70s or 80s. We'll see. But even then, I'm not really looking to sell anything in my portfolio because I want to be living off the passive income that portfolio produces. And that's when life gets sweet. When you don't have to work for a living, you're earning your income passively through your tenants' rent checks and the dividend payments that your portfolio is paying you. That's why I call my book Along for the Ride. And again, I can't stress this more. What I talk about in my book can be done by anybody, and the results are guaranteed. They are guaranteed. You can't help but make tons of cash with this. Where people get into trouble is they start thinking small ball and short term and speculating and betting on price as opposed to betting on what your portfolio is producing for you. Keep those things in mind, and I think it will help you change your thinking about why the only way to invest is long term. And I know people get the emails all the time, this market is, as far as Vancouver real estate goes, it's a crazy market. But there's always dark clouds out there on the horizon. If you want to wait for a better buying opportunity to buy your principal residence or your condo or investment condo, go ahead. But make sure you've got a strike price in mind. If the market drops 5 or 10%, you're going to get in. And make sure you're pre-approved and you've got your down payment funds ready to go, because eventually you're going to get that buying window, but you've got to be in a position to take advantage of it. And when you do take advantage of it, keep it. Don't, if it goes up $50,000 next year, it's tempted to sell it. I'm telling you, I'm a realtor and I make my living selling properties. I'm advising you to hang on to it if you can. I'm Owen Biglen. As always, I'll see you next week.